Mr. Bloom. How is the solar business treating you? Have you enjoyed another good year? Are you still flush with cash?
Yes. I have a couple of suitcases full of cash in the trunk of my car. Those dummies at the IRS are so stupid. They don't have a damn clue about what's going on.
Well, I do. That's why I wanted to meet with you today. It might be time for you to pay for some more protection. I would like to make a deal, if you know what I mean.
What the hell? What about the 4 solar systems I installed for your brother, sister, accountant and your ugly mother? Christ, wasn't that enough?
Not exactly. You need to really consider what's at stake here. I mean, I got my needs, and I got my wants. Get my drift? My wants are really the same as my needs.
Okay. How about a nice bag of weed and a little toot? You know, some marching powder.
Yes, let's take a real close look at it. I can feel myself goose-stepping right now.
Hey, you got a deal, my friend. I do hope this will settle the matter once and for all.
Sure, I don't see why not. But first, I would like to examine that toot right now, if you don't mind.
Okay, but I got to tell you, there is not much left. At least, not at this moment. How about you take all my weed now and I will bring you some of the marching powder tomorrow?
Sure. But no more chances. Deal or no deal. Just get me that toot.
Sergeant Brown, I have been successful in obtaining the toot that you so desperately need and want.
For me? That is great. However, Mr. Bloom, it better be of the purity and quality that I have become accustomed to, or the penalties will be severe and devastating to you. Do we understand each other?
Here it is, my friend, full of crystals and lots of power. It will satisfy your wants and needs, I believe. You will be grinding your teeth within seconds.
Mr. Bloom, I think this stuff is laced with baby laxative, isn't it? You called it marching powder. I now feel the need to march to the toilet fast.
Sergeant, you don't know the trouble I went through to get you the toot. I had to go all the way to the ghetto in Harlem to Dan the man's bungalow to score. He was so loaded, he could barely unlock his secure toot bag.
Then perhaps I should locate this culprit, this Dan, the man, as you call him, and teach him a lesson on proper decorum when supplying an officer of the law with faked blow. He won't get away with it.
What do you mean? It was promised to be of the finest quality Peruvian flake. I've been double-crossed by Dan. I will take you to Harlem, and we will make him come clean.
Not so fast, Mr. Bloom. When we find him, if he isn't able to provide an 8-ball of the best I have ever had, the IRS will soon be notified, and you both will be sharing an 8-by-10 jail cell next to Bernie Madoff. Get the picture?
Oh, fuck. I beg of you, Sergeant, please give me a chance. I know I can satisfy your wants. Perhaps a nice white, blonde whore would do the trick.
Now that you mention it, I want the blonde hoe and the 8-ball. Let's get going. The clock is ticking on your life, Mr. Bloom. Just get me the toot and the hooker, or it will be the end for you. I'm desperate. So, you're Dan, the man. You've got to be shitting me. You really are a full-blown scumbag.
Who sent you here? Was it that coat-cutting bastard, Mr. Bloom?
Yes, he tried to pass off some baby laxative as pure toot. I had to go home and change my underpants. It wasn't pretty. I promised him protection from the IRS and trade for the toot, and he blamed you for the poor quality.
Can you keep a secret, my new friend?
You can trust me. Perhaps we can do some business together, just me and you, and at the same time, put an end to Mr. Bloom's careless ways, if you know what I mean.
I have an idea. I will contact Mr. Bloom, offer him a replacement packet to give to you. However, it will be peppered with rat poison. You know, he can never keep his nose out of the bag. It will be curtains for him.
Not so fast, Dan. I need the protection income that Mr. Bloom provides me. And by the way, even though the lousy toot he gave me made me soil myself, the whore that he delivered was as good as it gets.
Okay. Listen, mister. I don't even know your name.
Brown, Sergeant Brown.
Mr. Brown, what you don't know is, besides Mr. Bloom having $1,000 a week habit, he is also influenced by a little snoot whore named Trixie. She controls his every move. She's tried rehab many times, as has Bloom. They keep coming back for more and more. They are both the majority of my business.
Wow, it's more serious than I thought. Not only is Mr. Bloom self-absorbed with stealing from himself and the IRS, he is, sooner or later, going to be the reason for my own downfall. If he causes his own demise, there goes my protection income. Dan, please, help me. I need Mr. Bloom, regardless of his problems, I beg of you. Please. I think you are really, deep down, inside, a good man. If you don't mind, let's keep Mr. Bloom out of the loop here. He can just give me a little cash from time to time, from the suitcases in the trunk of his car, and I would like to get my toot directly from you, if you don't mind. Please, just get me the toot. I'm desperate.
So Dan, how is the cocaine business these days? Are you able to sell more than you snort? Frankly, I think you've been putting a fucking on me for years.
Now, Mr. Bloom, you know me better than that. I have always had what you needed, when you need it.
Okay, then what about the shitty blow that you passed off on Sergeant Brown? You really made me look like an asshole. And I know you tried to make a deal with him to cut me out. The problem is, you don't have any idea how deep the ties are between me and that stupid nigger cop.
Look, Mr. Bloom, I think we can get past this. Sergeant Brown is hooked big time on the marching powder. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I have no intention of cutting you out. I need your business, plus you are a smart man. That can help me invest. Sergeant Brown has only one asset. He is good protection for both of us. Here is my plan. Both of us will be better for it. What we need to do is make Brown think we are not doing business together anymore. He will be so desperate for protection money to support his nasty lifestyle that he will make poor judgments in his normal police duties. Especially after I supply him with some coke like he has never seen. It will make him crazy. He'll be so fucking horny for white hookers that he won't be able to control his actions, and he will probably lose his job, his wife, and his family. No more Sergeant Brown, no more protection money. Get the picture? Just think of the extra cash you will have if you're not digging into your suitcase full of cash just to give it to that greedy, ungrateful man. You just don't need it.
Your plan has some merit. However, I'm not sure Sergeant Brown won't become suspicious. He knows we are both a couple of lying bastards. He will follow me like a black bloodhound. I will have him on my ass day and night. It will be difficult for me to have any peace. I'm scared, Dan. I'm really scared.
Don't be scared, little buddy. We will play good cop, bad cop, pardon the pun, and I will take all the heat. Now just go back to your stupid solar business and let me handle the details. Don't call me or make any contact with me for 30 days. Believe me, Sergeant Brown will only be a bad memory for you. Here's a little snoot for the road, Mr. Bloom. Enjoy it in good health. I suggest that you get out of town for a few weeks, while I do what I do. You know what Andy Brown used to say?
No, I can't remember anything.
Andy said, when you're doing something, you always want to know what you're doing when you're doing it.
Oh no, it's Sergeant Brown. We gotta get the fuck out of here, Dan. Hide the toot, let's go.
Well now, Mr. Bloom, you thought you could pull a fast one on Sergeant Brown, did you? You have to deal with me now. It will make Brown seem like a day at Disneyland. You are truly fucked.
Oh, no. What now? I didn't do anything to Sergeant Brown. I have been out of the country, in Peru, for 6 weeks. The sergeant is my best friend. I am very fond of him. We always greeted each other with dignity and respect.
That was then, and this is now. Thanks to you and your low-life partner, Dan the Man, Sergeant Brown is in a New York mental institution. full lockdown and a straitjacket. He was discovered in a cheap motel with 3 hookers, a very bloody nose, needle marks in his arm, and vomit all over himself. Sergeant Brown almost marched himself to death.
Tell me it isn't true, Mr. And Mr.
I am Captain Clink. To you, Mr. Bloom, and you have violated any trust you had with Sergeant Brown. So, Mr. Bloom, long story short, you are finished.
How did you know, Captain? How did you figure out Dan's plan to get rid of Sergeant Brown?
We have this club on videotape, you dumb fuck. It will be just the evidence we need to put you away for a long time. You will be charged with conspiracy against a police officer, embezzlement, and cocaine trafficking, all Class 1 felonies. As a matter of fact, your buddy Dan is already in maximum security at San Quentin. I'm sure that little punk is a very sore butt.
So, Captain, needless to say, you would single quote NT be interested in a little sack of toot, would you?
Let's go, Bloom. I don't do drugs. You just fucked yourself again. Oh, and by the way, just moments ago, the FBI raided your house and your office and confiscated 4 kilos of meth, as well as $200,000 in cash. Kiss yourself goodbye. You will be a very old man when your first parole hearing comes up, let's say in the year 2030. You will just adore your new roommates. I hope you enjoyed your last vacation to Peru. You have chewed your last cocoa leaves. Book in, boys.
Mr. Bloom, are you prepared to spend 20 years in the big house?
Your Honor, I don't know what to say. I am a victim of circumstance.
Oh, really? You are aware that you ruined Sergeant Brown's life and career. You converted him into a full-blown drug addict. Plus, he is now also addicted to white women. His wife committed suicide, and his children are now in a foster home.
Come on, Judgy Wadgy. You know the real enemy of this court and society is Dan the man, not me. Sergeant Brown forced me to pay him $5,000 a week to keep the IRS away from my books at Acme Solar. So really the culprit in this case is also the victim. And that is the good sergeant. And then you bring Dan, the largest toot dealer in New York, into the picture, and you can see this has escalated into a problem of great proportion.
Jesus Christ, haven't you any morals, Mr. Bloom? I understand that you can't keep your nose out of the bag either. Does your wife know about your antics? Or do you lie to her just like everyone else? I think we need to bring Dan the man down from San Quentin and put you both under the hot lights and the lie detector machine.
I will promise you, Judge, that Dan will be holding some marching powder, and he will try to offer it to you for amnesty in this matter. That is how he operates.
I dare to think he would bring a sack of blow into my courtroom. By the way, Mr. Bloom, how is the quality of Dan's powder? Maybe we can go back into my chambers and work something out. Yes.
Your Honor, order in the court. I'm not sure of what I just heard you say. Are you trying to totally blow my mind? Or... I get it now. You were trying to trap me. I see your game here, but I must tell you, it is usually pretty good shit.
You are getting me kind of excited, Mr. Bloom. May I share a little secret with you?
Yes. As long as you will consider all the factors that surround my situation, and be as honest as you would be with your own mother.
I think we have an understanding. I believe. I shall call the warden at the penitentiary and have Dan relocated to a minimum security facility in San Jose. And at that point we will take a closer look at the evidence. Get my drift?
Your Honor, I'm in disbelief.
Mr. Bloom, I have a confession to make. I am a bisexual. I'm ashamed, but it is true. But I have to tell you I like it. It suits me well, and my wife hasn't a clue. And you will never guess this one, Mr. Bloom.
Now what? I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
Well, my little felon, I'm also addicted to black pussy.
I think I've heard enough, Your Honor. Let me know when Dan arrives with the evidence. Maybe Dr. Fine should be here as a witness.
So be it. Court adjourned. Just remember one thing.
What's that, sir?
Just get me the toot.
Good evening from Atlanta. This is Susan Cocksucker, and Don the Donkey Dick reporting to you with the latest developments in the biggest scam ever to hit this country in its history. Now, here is the news.
Yes, Susan, this event is the biggest thing we have ever seen. I agree. I have reported on many big breaking stories, but this is huge. Nobody can believe it. The streets are filled with thousands of people who are acting like zombies and crazed lunatics, and quite frankly I am a bit worried about driving home tonight after this broadcast. It is horrible out there. People are running everywhere in circles, and life as we have known it does not seem like it will last very long with all the chaos.
That's right. Say, would mind when we are done here, giving me a ride home? I am so frightened that I believe that I have just squirted some shit in my panties.
No problem. I had the same thing happen to me just before we sat down. Talk about feeling a little frightened. It is running down my leg.
That's too bad. But that just about sums up this breaking story. It is like a river of shit out there, indeed.
Yes, Susan. Tonight's news is really bad. But we need to let our viewers know the truth and what it will mean for all of us.
Okay. The best way to say it is perhaps, we are all simply screwed. Now we all know that the toot we all have been using is no longer available. None of us know what to do. It is a madhouse out there. Yes, you might say that from now on, we all will be marching to a quite different tune. I mean, who knew this could happen? Life without toot? What's up with that?
Well, Susan, as you know, it all started when the goddamn judge was caught snorting up some good shit with Sergeant Brown. And when Mr. Bloom turned in Dan the man, just so he could save his own little ass, is when this nightmare began. Tonight, we have learned that Dan the man is dead. Yes, it's official. We may be a little late reporting this, as most people already apparently know about it. Dan the man was found this afternoon, in the nude, face down in an estimated 1-pound pile of Bolivian blow. According to the local sheriff, he had been dead for at least 3 weeks. He had one end of a nylon rope tied around his neck and the other wrapped around his dick. No wonder everyone is going nuts. His absence from the scene explains why it is such a frenzy out there.
Yes, that's the question. Now that Dan is gone for good, what the hell are we all going to do?
I know what you mean. I need the stuff to rub on my wife's pussy. I just love to lick it off. It is the only way she can climax. I have to have it.
Oh, you poor boy. Things at home will never be the same, that's for sure. Have you tried sticking a baseball bat up your ass? It always works for me.
So getting back to the news, what the hell happened to Mr. Bloom? Is he still at large?
I am afraid so. Yes, he is. The last reports are that Mr. Bloom was seen leaving town with a heavy suitcase that was believed to contain $400,000 in cash and the last known shipment of Dan's excellent marching powder.
Christ, some guys have all the luck. Well, that about sums up tonight's news. And do not forget, after tonight's broadcast, be sure to watch Larry King, where they will be discussing the possible whereabouts of Mr. Bloom and that missing suitcase. From Susan and myself, we wish you good luck and good night.